We're going to get into our waivers section right now and talk about some guys you should pick up.
Put me in, coach.
Well, you guys want to start talking wide receivers?
Let's do it.
All right, we're going to do this a little bit different today. Maybe. Okay. I want you to give me the top wide receiver on your board, waiver wire wise.
The top.
If you had to sign one wide receiver this week, who would it be?
It would be Marvin Jones.
Okay, Cincinnati wide receiver.
Absolutely.
991 and 1 this week.
We talked this man up as a sleeper, and he has arisen.
He has.
The man has awoken. He has pulled a full Lazarus
25
from missing his entire season last year. And he overtook that number 2 job quickly, and the Bengals are firing on all cylinders. That offense is spectacular. You want to stop the run? Fine. The pass is opened up with A.J. Green, Marvin Jones, Tyler Eifert. And Marvin Jones is now a huge part of the offense. Like Andy said, huge stat line last week. That's not his first big game. But people need to start paying attention. He is a legitimate I'm not going to call him a 2 yet, but I'll call him a low-end wide receiver.
Well, he's the number 25 wide receiver. So, yeah, I mean, I
guess
guess
he's
not
very close to it, too.
Yeah,
a low-end 2 for me.
So the question I asked someone else was, would you take Decker or Marvin Jones right now?
I'd still take Decker.
Okay.
But a part of that is the Bengals are going on bye this week. Decker has already passed his bye, and Decker is scoring a touchdown every single game he plays right now.
And he doesn't have Tyler Eifert to steal.
Right. The Jets are similar where their offense is running full steam, but they're very close.
Yeah, Marvin Jones needs to be had on your team. However, I've got a different number 1 wide receiver for this week. The wide receiver I want to pick up because I'm going for upside, not that Marvin Jones doesn't have it, but is Stephon Diggs. We watched him. We've talked about him a little bit the last few weeks, how Andy were watching a game. We're just blown away by some guy who was just making these unbelievable catches. And it was like, oh, who's Diggs? Oh, yeah, that's that rookie, 5th-round rookie. So you've got a guy who was drafted, brought in. He was behind 2 guys, so he didn't even play in the first 3 games. 0 catches, 0 receptions in those first 3 games.
It's tough to catch a pass when you don't play.
5th-round rookie.
5th-round rookie, and he comes in. Now Charles Johnson gets injured, so he comes into the starting lineup. And all he does is play phenomenal. That first game that we were talking about where we saw he got 6 for 87 2 games ago. And that was the game where those 6, not all 6 for 87 are made the same. And those were not made the same. Those were catches that
was against Denver, by the way.
Yeah.
Denver DBs. He caught 6 for 67. I'm sorry, 6 for 87. And then last week, he caught 7 for 129. He is a talented guy. He's getting open, and he's making tough catches. You know, you look for these, guys who they don't play in the beginning. They're just sitting on the waiver wire. They find their opportunity, and that's what's changed. It's just opportunity. That's what happens with rookie wide receivers, though. We saw the same exact thing last year, and we had a plethora of them where it takes some time to get in the offense, get your opportunity, and then –
Odell Beckham was on everybody's waiver wire when he was picked up after
everybody
3 or 4
can
weeks.
see. I mean, the coaches can see what we can see. The trust of Teddy Bridgewater is growing in Stephon Diggs. He's a go-to type of guy. They both, if you listen to them talk about each other, they're building a rapport there. And the way he is in and out of his breaks, he's quicker than everybody else. You want Greg Jennings out there in and out of breaks, or do you want a rookie with speed, youth, upside, and apparently hands and that we didn't expect? So I think Diggs, what kind of money do you spend on Jones? What kind of money do you spend on Diggs if you're talking FAAB budget?
If you're in a league that is only one fantasy footballer listener, then I think you can get Diggs decently affordable. If you're in a league where everyone's listening, pay the piper.
But you would pay the piper.
I would like to have a guy like that on my roster. Now,
like
paying the piper.
Exactly how much are you going to bid
I see
in our leagues?
For me, if you're on a $100 FAAB and you have a need, right? This is need dependent. Not everybody needs, if you've got great wide receivers on your roster, don't do this. But if you need a wide receiver, I would say $10 is a worthy bid, 10%.
Yeah, that's fair. This
$10. All right.
This is a guy in Diggs that, sure, he's probably exaggerating, but Mike Wallace was looking at his quote. He was comparing him to Antonio Brown. Now, that's a little bit excessive for a rookie.
Because Mike Wallace is such a reasonable individual.
Just saying. But clearly Mike Wallace thinks that Stephon Diggs is a spectacular player. I'm not poo-pooing Diggs at all, but why I prefer Jones, higher powered offense, role secure. We believe that Diggs is going to stay involved in the offense, but Charles Johnson has shown in the past that he can be a solid wide receiver. So there's no guarantee that Diggs takes his spot, but I agree that Diggs is on my radar if I need a wide receiver.
All right, I'm going to mention one more guy for a 1-week spot start stream type of guy. Robert Woods this week in London. Percy Harvin did not travel with Buffalo. He is injured, and they're worried that his hip injury is going to keep him out for a significant portion of the season.
Classic Harvin.
Yeah, same with the hip too, right? And then we all know that Sammy Watkins was injured. Yep. I believe he traveled, but he's like on crutches.
Yeah,
there's no way he's
I would
playing.
be
So
shocked
Robert
if he plays.
Woods is a high target type of guy. He had 6 last week. He'll probably have more this week in that matchup in London. So if you need to spot start somebody, it doesn't feel great throwing him out there, but he'll perform for you.
And Michael Crabtree, if he's on your wire, Michael Crabtree has been
Coming off the bye, right?
Has been a target monster. He might be on the wire because people dropped him for the bye week, but he's been playing great. He's got Amari Cooper to offset some of the defense, and there's talk in Oakland of getting him even more involved in the offense than he already is. So Crabtree's a great guy to grab.
All right, let's turn to the running backs. Who's your number one running back pickup this week? Because there are some guys, it depends who you are, but who's your number one?
My number one guy this week would be Theo Riddick because Kristen Michael's already on my bench.
So
Kristen Michael is clearly my number one pickup. A guy like we just talked about, a guy who could potentially turn into a starting running back at this point of the season from your waiver wire. You have to take that chance.
Isn't it the same logic that we had with West or last week where they don't grow on trees?
Yeah,
These starting running backs don't grow on trees. So you might as well take a shot, especially if you're a middling type of record. You're 3-3 right now through 6 weeks, and the difference on your team is while you're rolling out Eddie Lacy right now. Would you like to put another guy on your team that we're not saying he will be, we're saying he could be, and could be is really good at running back.
Yeah, and any kind of record, personally for me, I'm grabbing Michael because let's say you're stacked at running back. Well, if he turns into a starting running back, you have another chip that you can trade. Somebody wants a starting running back. Everybody wants starting running backs.
So
I do have a question.
Okay.
If you're an Eddie Lacy owner, are you signing Michael over Starks?
No.
I'm not. I'm signing Starks.
I think if you're you try to sign both. There's no rule that says you can't. But I would go Starks over Michael because that's a need and potential. Kristen Michael is potential, but not necessarily a need. And if you've got Lacy, then so that would be me personally. And speaking personally, what I'm going to be looking for on my waivers is probably going to be Ahmad Bradshaw. Ahmad Bradshaw, we saw he came right in, and man, is he a crowd favorite. That crowd rooted and hollered for him.
Because he was great last year.
Yes, he was. He was actually, when he was playing, he was a top 5 back. Now, he's a handcuff, and I'm saying this to the Gore owners. If you've got a Frank Gore on your team, then you got to have an Ahmad Bradshaw on your team. That has to happen. I don't think he has standalone value, but you have to have him. And the reason that my number one claim is not Christine Michael is because all of the leagues I play in, so does Mike. But otherwise, he would absolutely be my number one claim.
So I will shoot out some information about Mr. Theo.
Yes,
Theo Riddick.
Yeah.
Snap counts at the highest they've been past 2 games that he's played. Zach Zinner is
dead.
out for the season.
Oh, man.
Very sorry for him. He's not actually dead, but he's seriously injured. And for a young, undrafted guy, that is tough. So Joique Bell's been unproductive. Amir Abdullah keeps putting the ball on the turf and can't be necessarily trusted. And honestly, in open field, when you watch Theo Riddick catch a pass, he's been as good, if not better, than Amir Abdullah. He makes somebody miss almost every time he catches the ball in the passing game. And he actually got a few carries last week. Riddick is kind of like, it sounds crazy, but he's kind of like a higher floor flex type play where you're probably going to get 8 points out of Riddick, worst case scenario, and maybe he catches a touchdown. He's not a superstar, but opportunity mixed with talent, I think he's a really good sign this week.
Yeah,
somebody played him against me last week, and it wasn't the end of the world, 10 points.
To go back, someone had asked
back in
me
time?
back to the Green Bay Dallas discussion. Somebody had sent me a Twitter question of this. Who do you like more? This is a trade. Would you rather have the Green Bay backfield, so Lacy and Starks, or would you rather have Joey Randall and Kristen Michael?
I would rather have the Green Bay backfield.
That's what I said.
And the reason is because Aaron Rodgers versus dead Tony Romo.
Well, again, he's not dead. We have to really specify here. Apparently, everybody's dead if they're not playing.
If you're not playing, you're dead to me.
And another running back I really like is Charles Sims. And Charles Sims trust me, it's kind of gross for me to say that. He's one of those names where, what, really? Charles Sims? But Doug Martin is playing out of his mind right now. Well, Charles Sims is doing quite well. If you look at his numbers, he's catching a lot of passes. He's running the ball decently. I believe in our scoring system, he's basically a running back 2, which is extremely unexpected for a guy like Sims. And he may be on your wire.
Yep. He's in the Riddick, Chris Thompson
yes.
category of players. But, yeah, he's had some opportunity, and he's performed even when Martin's done well because he's on the field quite a bit. So, obviously, James Starks, big pickup. We gave you the news at the top of the show. Hot hand approach. Starks has played better. Starks had a big game last week. And, if they have to sit down Lacy for a couple games to get him healthy, you're talking about big impact from James Starks. Also, pay attention to Knile Davis. If he's just sitting out there because West, was the guy everyone went after, you can sign Knile Davis. You might get some goal line carries from him. And Chris Thompson is involved as well and would have had a better game last week had he not been a little banged up. So tight ends, if you're signing somebody at the tight end position, Julius Thomas got scooped up last week. I need somebody to start, Mike. Who do I start?
From your waiver wire?
Yeah, man, I got to start one.
Then there's really no reason to not take a chance on Ben Watson. Take a chance on.
Yeah.
Because we saw the trust there.
He started his career in 1988. Is that correct?
That actually 1985.
85. Oh, yeah. Okay.
You were a little bit off.
All right. Is that Hill Valley? Is that where he went to high school?
Yeah. But Ben, I from the sound of his post-game interview, I don't think even Ben Watson was expecting that game. But there was a ton of Josh Hill hype coming into the season because of the hole that Jimmy Graham had left, and we tried
hoping, tried to mitigate that.
But I'm saying back before even the Ben Watson stuff was coming in over the summer, it was just that we feel like there should be a tight end who can succeed in the New Orleans system, and Ben Watson he's slowly been creeping up. And he's never been a bad player. He's always been very solid, and he's on the field. He can block. He can catch. And do I expect another game anywhere similar to the last Thursday game? No. But if you can get a tight end who's getting you 4 for 60, then you are succeeding in your tight end category. And Ben Watson is a guy who may be able to do that depending on a matchup.
12 targets says a few things about the trust level that you're building with your quarterback. Like Mike said, we don't expect him to get 12 targets and 10 catches for 127 yards probably ever again. That was his career best game. But it means something. And Mike said he's had an okay career. He's had a 68 reception season. He's had a 102 target season. And by the way, he started his career in 2004.
What?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, he's somebody you could fly on in a good matchup. Obviously, they play better at home. I'd be wanting to roll him out there at home. Anybody else? I mean, Zach Ertz is a guy that's dependent on some performance from Bradford, which we haven't seen. Crockett Gillmore was back. He caught a few passes.
I would throw out. He's owned in most leagues, but Julius Thomas, if he's not owned in your league because he's been injured and
he will be now. Yeah.
Yeah, he should be, and he would be the guy that I would grab first if he's available, but he's probably not available. I wonder. I'm going to look that up.
Apparently, Crockett Gillmore had a majestic lion's mane of hair when he was in college to go along with his goatee. He has since trimmed it up, but I highly suggest people go look at Crockett Gillmore in college.
Thank you, Mike. We'll be back out to you for the hair update later in the week.
It is a treat.
All right, at the quarterback position, there's not a lot of guys I would say, you got to go roster if you're not streaming. But Blake Bortles, Blake Bortles is the one guy that we have down on our list because he's what is he in our league? I'm curious. Is he 6'5"?
I'm going to go to all leagues. News alert: Blake Bortles is the number 5 quarterback.
Yeah, Jason and I were talking about this at dinner last night. The fact that somebody texted me and they said, "Is Blake Bortles for real?"
Maybe.
and how funny. It's just funny to me what fantasy does.
Yeah.
Because For real? What do you mean? I mean, like
for real in real life or for fantasy football?
the
Right,
fact
that was
that
the
this
point.
disparity, I mean, the fact that question has to be asked is just humorous to me because he's got the Jay Cutler going on now where it's like
Throwing picks, losing games, putting up numbers.
exactly.
So he's great in fantasy, but he's not a real
So
good
everybody
quarterback.
loves him, but I mean, he's still got a long way to go as a pro.
And that being said, from a fantasy perspective, Blake Bortles is definitely a great streaming option when it comes to matchups, but he's not matchup proof by any means. He has actually had a run of pretty good matchups. We've picked him as our stream of the week because of some of those matchups, and again this week has a pretty good matchup. But if he's going up against a really top flight defense, I wouldn't trust it, even though he could. But I would probably go with someone else.
Am I starting Blake Bortles against Buffalo this week?
You better believe it.
You are?
Yeah,
I think
we're going to talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, I would.
Are you kidding me?
No, not at all.
Buffalo's pass defense has not been.
I realize
good.
that. I realize that they've been bad against fantasy defenses, but I don't like Bortles traveling to London to play Buffalo, coming off a loss. We're gonna have a water bet later.
Okay.
I can promise you that. Defensive streamers this week. Who do you like to play this week?
So there's a couple teams that I like. I like the Steelers against the Chiefs. The Steelers defense has really transformed into a team that you can kind of depend on. They've been a joke basically the last couple years, but they've got new
Harrison's back.
Yeah, Harrison's back with the new D coordinator. His name is Butler. His name is escaping me.
Keith Butler.
Yeah, I kind of like the Browns against the Rams.
Now, see, what's funny about those two matchups, Steelers and Chiefs, I like the Chiefs against the Steelers.
Their defense?
Yeah. And I like the Rams against the Browns at home. So both of those sides of things, I mean, I'd rather start the Rams at home against the Browns than the Browns on the road against the Rams.
Yeah,
I can see that. But the Chiefs, really? Big Ben's supposed to be back this week.
actually, they're moving forward.
That would change everything.
Yes, that would change a lot.
I
but
would
they
not
are moving
recommend
forward right now as Landry Jones is the starter. They're going to test Ben on Wednesday
There
and
you
see
go.
how that goes.
Yeah, I would completely
Okay.
withdraw all Chiefs recommendations with prejudice. Miami. You like Miami against Houston?
Yeah, we're reaching here. You gotta find some good matchups, and
Falcons
the-
defense against the Titans. Titans likely to be what Mettenberger?
yes, and that's exactly why. And for Miami, it's their defense. I mean, they spent a whole lot of money, and their defense coming into the year was supposed to be great.
Personnel wise, they have what it takes.
They were supposed to be great. They were clearly terrible under the Philbin regime. They looked rejuvenated. Now maybe that's only a one-game thing because that kind of situation can happen. Brand new coach, rah rah rah. We're gonna give it all for the one game, and then everything falls apart again. But with the talent that they had, I want to believe that Miami can get it done against Houston.
It's not bad. They're at home. That's a big piece of it. They're at home against Houston. Brian Hoyer, I do not trust. Giants. The Giants play the Cowboys. The Giants are coming off a loss. Their defense has been okay, but they're at home, and Dallas has got problems on the offensive side of the ball.
Yes,
But obviously, Mike wouldn't start him because Christine Michael's going to go off for like 4 or 5 touchdowns.
at least minimum.